The Marlins finished the series against the Phillies super hot. The Marlins offense putting up 19 runs. Yes, 1-9. 19 runs in 2 games to finish that series. Everyone's hitting. Everyone's looking like studs, including newly promoted Javier Sanoa. Tons to get into in this new look offense that looks pretty sexy headed into 25. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins, your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins_UK on X, Twitter, whatever you still call that app. This is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. This is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and there is a YouTube channel, of course. Join me on the YouTube channel. Hit subscribe. It's also called Locked On Marlins. Join me in the comments as well. Let me know your thoughts. Who is your favorite offensive player right now? Let me know in the comments which of these studs has got you feeling the most right now. There's tons to get into. This episode is going to be all about the offense, but delighted to welcome back part two on Monday's Locked On Marlins extravaganza. The UK GOAT is back. Sean Barrett, how are we doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Pete. Yesterday you used the word green shoots, I think it was, to refer to this team, and I don't think we thought of a single green shoot in the pitching for the whole episode. I think all the green shoots have been left for this episode. The hitting is quite literally hitting.
I believe it's a very good point. There was a lack of green shoots on the arms. A lot of waiver claims. You know, maybe some green shoots, we'll see. But you're right. The green shoots have certainly appeared in the offense. Some new faces, some very, very new faces, some old faces equally performing as well. So, you know, there has been green shoots up and down this lineup. And I think this last week or so, maybe I'm going to use that time frame, maybe slightly longer. This last, 10 days, it's got the fan base, feeling a little bit excited again is my sense of it. So there's tons to get into on this episode. We got Connor Norby. Not only has Skip Schumacher got a crush on him, Isaac Azut already had one. I'm not sure how Aram Layton's feeling about him right now. So we're going to talk about that at some point. But Javier Sanoa's been promoted ahead of time, let's say. 21 years old, this dude. Nick Fortes is looking like one of the best hitters in baseball right now. Yes, you heard that correct, but, there's tons to get into there. Jonah Bride is looking like an everyday player all of a sudden. And Otto Lopez, by WAR, seems to be a top 10 player at this point. Yes, I've listed all them off. All of them are facts. Every single one of them. You were half expecting me to say, which one of these is true and which is a lie, but they're all true. So there's tons to get into on this fun offense. This episode, though, is sponsored by our good friends over at FanDuel. And through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Sean, let's start with Connor Norby. 2 bombs yesterday, and they were destroyed. Connor Norby, part of this Trevor Rogers deal that could well go down as one of the biggest heists of all time, seemingly. People felt that way at the time. I wasn't sure. Didn't know who Connor Norby was, frankly, or Carl Stowers. But nevertheless, what have you made of Connor Norby in this small sample size, but seems to be a super productive sample size?
Yeah, super productive is absolutely right. So in 18 games, he has hits in 17 of them. He's only gone hitless once in 18 games, which is just amazing. And I remember talking about him just immediately after the trade, a couple of games after the trade, and everyone was getting all hoopla. He'd gone 6 for 6 in games hitting, or 7 games in hitting, with multiple game hits twice, I think. But my concern was the fact that his walk rate was about, I think it was 1.8, if I remember rightly, and the K per 9 was over 35 or whatever it was. And I said that's the main concern for me, because that's always the main concern for me. I knocked Jazz for 2 years for that basis.
Yeah. Who?
And I was right. And as it grew, as it got better year on year, and as he developed, the numbers started to show. And that's what I want to see from Norby going forwards. And to be fair to him, that walk rate has come up a little bit. The K rate's come down a little bit. But when a guy hits 17 games in 18, there's only so much you can say. And for power, 7 doubles, 6 home runs. The guy is lighting it up right now. Yes, he has a 409 BABIP, because of course you do. That's what happens when you hit well. He's going through a red hot streak, which is great to see. I caught an episode of Miami Mic'd Up with Jeremy Taché, and Norby was on that. And he spoke about, the troubles with, not the troubles, but the challenge of having to learn third base during this transition as well. So that's just another hurdle for him. But he also talked about just keeping it to the basics, keep it simple, do what got you here, essentially, which is clearly what the coaches are telling him. And right now it's working. So he's proven right now an ability to hit, which for Miami prospects or rookies doesn't always happen to show.
No.
So right now I've got a lot of optimism for him. I think challenging him at third base and seeing how he reacts to that is just, it's eye-opening to me, because he's really almost like Jazz did when he got moved off of shortstop to second base. He learned center field. This is a young guy who's shown an aptitude to develop. And when you're looking at a young guy, a Marlins, a team that struggle basically to develop hitters, right now he's showing a coachability that is really exciting.
Great call out on the coachability factor, and I think that is, the stick was big league ready. I mean, the Orioles had him up at the big league level, and so that is what it is. But defensively, what they didn't have him doing is playing third base, and new organization, different environment, a lot going on. You feel a different type of pressure maybe in like a smaller market, or I don't know. Like I felt like with Brinson, like Brinson was part of that deal. Brinson felt like he needed to be like the MVP straight away. Like he felt that degree of pressure, and so I feel like that type of thing would exist with Connor Norby, where like he's kind of like the big league ready guy they've traded for, and it's like you need to go out there and hit the ground running, and so there is pressure there. But to your point, defensively, third base hasn't been really his forte historically. I don't think he really envisaged that for himself, but has embraced it. And I guess at this point, Sean, the question really has to be, looking ahead again. And we've been doing quite a bit of looking ahead here at this point, which makes sense because this is a world gear at 25. But looking ahead, do we see this third base positionally, defensive position anyway, being the norm here for Connor Norby? Like, is that the future here for the Marlins, at least in the short term, considering the other kind of guys they've got on the roster at this point?
Yeah, I mean, in the short term, absolutely. We're going to talk about him in a minute, but obviously Otto is pretty much taken up the shortstop spot. Edwards is going to play second base. Norby to play on the infield, he's going to be at third base. So that decision now is starting to make a lot more sense. When it first happened, people were like, well, why not just play him at second base? But the Marlins now have got depth, major league quality depth in the infield. It's going to eventually push Berger, who I have consistently on this podcast said should stick at third because his bat is profiled better there than at DH or first base. But he might be moved off of there just because Norby is performing. And then again, we're going to talk about Bride, but Bride is a guy that at the moment you don't really want to move out the lineup. There are people coming up soon, De Los Santos. At the moment, the Marlins now have got a situation where they've got 5, 6, 7 guys all fighting for a couple of spots. And that's fantastic. That's what you want to see from a growing team, a young growing offense. You want to see guys like if these guys weren't performing, Berger would be sat there going, I'm going to play 5, 6 times a week. I'm going to get 500 at bats just if I continue to breathe. Like he now knows there's guys breathing down his neck. Like he's got to perform. And right now, he's scuffling a little bit, but that doesn't matter to much of a degree for this year. But going into spring, over the winter, players having that realization of, I've got to perform if I want to continue to play over the winter, they're going to be putting in the work. The Marlins earlier this part of the year with Garcia and Tim Anderson and Brujan to a certain degree, these are long tenured players who just thought, I just turn up to the ballpark and I get to play. And that kind of attitude garners the results that they all got. And right now they're all out of baseball. Right now we've got young guys who have to fight and claw for their position, and they're going, and that's how a young team grow.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just that kind of environment, right, where everyone's playing for their spot. And I think it's one of the things that always frustrated me. I think back to I think Avisel Garcia being the most obvious one in recent memories, but it must be so frustrating culturally where you have this overpaid passenger that is getting at bats ahead of you. You're trying to make your way in the game. Think about Griffin Conine, for example, who's kind of been blocked by the Avi situation. How frustrating, and fair play to Griff for carrying on, but how frustrating must that be to know you're blocked by a guy that isn't performing, but he's on the field because he's guaranteed a certain amount of money. And that must really impact the culture in many ways. And so the Marlins have cleared the decks now, and they're not going to make that mistake again because it's not the Rays way, right? We're not going to see that from Bendix. So they won't make those mistakes. Those balloon contracts with the vets who probably won't perform, they're not going to be there. Now, this is just a battle of, are you playing well? Have you earned your spot? If so, you're on the roster. If you haven't, it's the waiver wire or it's AAA. And that's going to be the situation. So that creates a different type of competitive culture, which I think is going to be fun to watch. No doubt spring should be, boy, oh boy, there's going to be competitions galore at spring, which we haven't said that from a Marlins organization for some time. The last true spring training battle I can remember was Jazzy Sandiaz, however many years ago that was. And we all know how that bad boy ended. Everyone was saying Isan, this is his role. By the end of spring,
I think I was leading that train.
I was with you. I mean, I had the jersey. I was like, I need Isan to be in the team here. But I mean, it's going to be fun in spring, no doubt. Just one thing on Norby. We'll hit the ads, and I want to carry on with the other guys. There's loads to get into here, but what stood out to me in yesterday's game was the fact that Norby blasted a off-speed, I want to say a curveball or something, but it was bottom of the zone. It wasn't a hanger in the mid part of the zone. It was bottom part of the zone. It looked like location-wise, it was where he wanted it to be. But Norby went down and got it and absolutely destroyed it. And I was encouraged by that a lot of Norby's hard contact has been kind of fastball heavy. And he's aggressive as well. That's the other thing as well. I've seen... if it's a first pitch, he's going. It's kind of Jazz-like, because Jazz likes to hunt those first pitches too. But yeah, Norby's been aggressive, and he's been aggressive on those fastballs. I think it's going to be interesting to see the adjustments to him. You see these new guys, they're on fire. Quickly, you'll work out, okay, what's he doing? Why is he effective? And then the pitchers will adjust, and then Norby will adjust, and the 2 and 4th will continue. But yeah, for Norby, been a lot of fastball contact, which has been good. Early in the count, good. Then yesterday, I think the second home run in particular, bottom of the zone, kind of curveball type pitch, went down, got it, destroyed it. I'm encouraged by that too. So Norby, generally, super encouraged. For a fringy guy, he's really performing well at this point. So I'm really encouraged by that. Let's talk about the other big story, I'd say, over the weekend, and that is Javier Sanoja being called up by the Marlins. Super young, super small, but absolutely earned his opportunity. So we'll get into that. Before we do that, firstly, let's let you know about our good friends over at Gametime. And we'll get the graphics pumped there, producer. Yes, sir. And Gametime, listen, guys, Gametime has got this brand new feature. It is called Gametime Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier than before. Gametime Picks, it filters out the fluff. To show you only the incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. No, none of that. Coupled with the Gametime Picks feature, you have to toggle on, in my opinion, all-in price and toggle this feature on, and it will show you the total upfront, no surprise fees at checkout. I can't stand those surprise fees. So make sure you toggle that all-in pricing on. You've got panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy, and the game time guarantee, which credits you 110% of the difference. Same seat, same row for less. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to Locked On Marlins, part 2 of Monday's episode. With me, Peter Pratt, and UK GOAT, Sean Barrett. We are talking sticks, and we need to talk about Javier Sanoja. Called up by the Marlins, 21 years of age, but he has earned it, Sean. What stood out was the lack of strike. You talking about Connor Norby. What I want to see is strikeouts down, walks up. Javier Sanoja straight into the game, making chaos happen on Saturday then with his first couple of hits for the Marlins in Sunday's game. The corresponding move, by the way, Derek Hill hits the IL, so that gets Sanoja up. But, the guy never strikes out. He's been super young for the level of AAA. He's now up at the big league, with the big league club. He's on the 40-man, considering the performance, the production, the age. Like, he's going to be on this 40-man to stay. This is not a transactional move. Like, he's going to be on. He's going to be given an opportunity here. So, what's early impressions, I guess, here with Sanoja? Surprised as well that he's made it onto the roster? Or, I know it links to an injury, but are you surprised that Sanoja's made it up?
Yeah, I think we talked about him recently about for next year, about how this team is going to develop for next year. And my thinking was that maybe he's a bit too young, that the Marlins' financial responsibility of not bringing these kids up too early. But Sanoja's got an interesting profile. He's got a high floor, but a low ceiling. He's going to be a guy that's going to give you contact. He's going to hit sort of 275, 290 maybe. Absolutely no power. Has shown an ability to steal a base. He's stolen 30 bases in a minor league year, but the caught stolen is criminally high on top of that. So the actual value in that is, he's young, he'll develop. He just needs to learn when to go. Do the new bases help him? Potentially. But what he's going to give you is good average and good defense where it matters, at short and at center field.
Yeah,
he's a perfect bench guy. And for that, he's earned his role. He will be, I think, now that the team have bought him up, as long as, he can hit and show that, as you said, the strikeout rate is, it's godly in my eyes. If he can show that translate to the major league level, even in just this real small sample size, in my eyes, it'll be enough for him to go into spring going, I can earn myself a major league role here.
Yeah.
And to me, that would be fantastic. If not, then the Marlins will keep him down for half a year to make up for the service time of these couple of weeks. But I genuinely think if he comes into spring and shows good defense at those core positions, shows an ability to continue to hit for contact, and maybe tighten up that stolen base situation, this is an exciting guy for the Marlins. An infield that we've already talked about being quite stretched, quite full and struggling to find roles. That ability to play center field well is certainly an avenue for him to just knock through that door.
I'm completely with you, mate. I think the reason that Sanoja has got this opportunity isn't because Derek Hill's gone down and they were like in a pinch. I don't think any of that at all. I think they've looked at this and gone, this guy could legitimately be the opening day starter at center field for the Marlins next year. Like, legitimately could be. Obviously, they moved on from Jazz. Victor Mesa Jr. will have something to say about that. Other guys, they may try to kind of fudge it a bit. Like Stowers has kind of played a little bit there. But I look at Sanoja, I look at his offensive profile, I look at his defensive profile, and I think, why not? Why not? And so, I think he's absolutely in the running here to be a significant role player for the Marlins next season. Whether that's as a bench guy, it's fine. But he'll be headed into spring thinking, to your point, like I can win this job. I can win this job and be the center fielder. We haven't seen anything yet of Victor Mesa Jr. at the big league level. Sanoa's now got, 20 days, let's say. We don't know how much playing time he'll get in that time, but he's got a small sample to try to make an impact. And he's made an impact already. 2 hits yesterday. I think it was a fielder's choice on Saturday in his first game and his first at bat, but it created chaos on the bases from memory. They ended up getting an error thrown at home and runner scored. But a fun guy, a fun profile. I think you've summarized it perfectly, though. Like high floor, low ceiling type of dude, where you're looking at good center fielder, up the middle defense, 290 hitter, can steal some bags, needs to improve in that area, but no power, and there's value in that, I'd say. And so, we'll see. I think I'm glad that he's had the opportunity considering the season he's had at AAA. And I also think that if the Marlins didn't believe in him, then they would have found another way to have solved the Derek Hill situation, right, Sean? They'd have just promoted anyone else and just said, yeah, just get on there. But I don't see this as a emergency ad and then a chance of like DFAing to clear a roster spot in the winter. I think the Marlins see Sanoa as a legit option. Talking about legit options, let's talk about Jonah Bride, because when I think about Jonah Bride, we haven't spent a ton of time talking about him, but I must say he's had the opportunity since the deadline. And for me, he continues to put a solid, good foot forward, I'd say, with Jonah Bride. Another bomb. All of his home runs look the same, by the way. Like there must be a specific hitting zone for Jonah Bride where, like, if the ball's there, it's disappearing. Like everything. I mean, I haven't got any. Probably someone will go, Pete, you're talking absolute nonsense. But all I can think is kind of up in the zone and a heavy pull, and it's like flat, boom. But Jonah Bride, Sean, we haven't gave him a ton of airtime, but is this a legitimate big league starter at this point?
Starters, I've got an image in my head of where he plays. Starting is a challenge, obviously, first base, DH kind of role for him. I owe him some flowers. The last time we spoke about him, I think I referred to him as Pudgy or Podgy. I can't remember now. He's actually been hitting really well. So since he came up, so this isn't me just cherry picking stats of like this day, that day, and trying to find a little sort of small sample size. This is now 177 plate appearances. If I wanted to cherry pick it, I'd have taken off those first couple of games because he went hit his first 2. This is just his career since he came up. It's 121 WRC plus. Like this is if Cooper were here and Cooper were doing this, we would have spoken a lot more about it. You better believe.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
He's putting up serviceable numbers. In my head, he is a perfect watermark. If Berger gets moved across because of Norby at third base, if De Los Santos wants to come up and play at the major league level, you've got to beat Bride first. That's the watermark of you've got to be better than this. Yeah. Otherwise, he's taking the role. And right now, that's a decent level for the Marlins to put that level. This isn't just a case of here's a scrub, be better than that scrub. This is a guy that's putting up genuinely decent major league numbers. 121 WRC plus at first base is not the same as if it's a shortstop, but let's remember where we got this guy from. Let's remember that he can actually play a bit of third. Like this is a guy that right now is that perfect watermark of this is a guy you've got to beat to perform at this level, and that's what the Marlins need. We just spoke about the depth, the infield depth. Yeah. That's what they've got now. I wouldn't go so far as to call it depth, like some of the stronger teams in baseball, but they've certainly got a level where you don't just walk into this lineup. You've got to perform to do it.
Is Jonah Bride's production the reason that either De Los Santos or Agustin Ramirez haven't had an opportunity yet in September?
I'd hasten to say that I think the Marlins wouldn't want to push that ticket right now. I think these are two guys that are soon to be breaking through. But I think this is a spring situation. This is a give them the winter. Maybe they play a bit of winter ball somewhere. I'm actually quite interested in the winter ball this year, which is probably just because I'm a glutton for punishment. But these are guys that I don't think quite are ready for the Marlins. The Marlins aren't ready to push fully yet. And I think when they come up, I think that will be an inclination to say, this is it. This is us now starting to ramp the game up.
Yeah, makes sense. It will be a signal. And I think you're right. There's no necessity to push this ticket at this point, which is, probably the rationale for that one. Let's hit the final ad. I want to talk about two other studs in this offensive group at this point, Nick Fortes and Otto Lopez. Yes, you heard that correct. Two offensive studs. Nick Fortes, his stick is alive, and Otto Lopez just generally just a war machine at this point. Before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends over at FanDuel. And you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel here on Locked on Marlins. It is America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you can watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. That's it. And you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Final segment here on Locked on Marlins with me, Peter Pratt, and UK GOAT Sean Barrett. We are going to talk about the hottest catcher potentially in baseball right now. One of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. No doubt about it. Nick Fortes. His stick is alive. Sean, it looks, every time I look at the box score, I just see Nick Fortes has done something day after day after day. What's changed? What's gone on here?
I mean, it's night and day, isn't it? So just before, or just after the injury, when he went to the DL, we were IL. I still got DL on my mind today. And when he went on to the IL, like, what a shame, because he was really lighting up, really. And I think I got probably a bit overexcited talking about having this offensive catcher. Certainly the Marlins haven't had since Real Muto. But fun with small sample sizes. He's been back up for a week, 6 games. You said hottest catcher in the game. And that's true since he came back up. He's also the 9th hottest hitter in baseball with a 230 WRC plus since he came up. It's 6 games, but hell if it's not fun. Yeah, this is just a continuation of what he was doing before. And I'll be really interested to see if he can't keep this up, but can he keep up this kind of level of offense? And if he can, and if this is a sea change, if this is actually a genuine change in approach or something's just clicked, we saw from last year to this year, or late last year to this year, like a change in his defense. The defense started to sort of grow a little bit, and he went from being this fringy bench catcher to maybe this is actually a genuinely, major league level catcher. If you can add a bit more to the stick as well and continue to develop, keep this level of offense as well as the growth at defense, this is an exciting catcher. This is easily the best catcher that the Marlins will have had if that happens since Real Muto.
Well, it's funny we talk catchers and catcher situation. I'm looking at my open tabs, which is often dangerous to do on anyone's laptop. But anyway, I'm looking at my open tabs, and I have Georgie Alfaro career stats tab open, primarily because I was with the Phillies guys on a live stream yesterday. And somehow, well, of course, not somehow, but of course, because that was a Phillies trade. But I've got Georgie Alfaro stats in front of me, and boy, oh boy, just a reminder of how much a roller coaster that was. But nevertheless, what I didn't realize with Alfaro, actually, he had a career 2.5 WAR and a career OPS plus of 87, which kind of caught me off guard. Fun player, Alfaro, very different to Nick Fortes. But yeah, Nick Fortes, and what I would say, Sean, as well, the other thing that stood out to me is the first half was not good offensively. For some reason, the Marlins have traded for Agustin Ramirez, and they see him as a future catcher. And all of a sudden, Nick Fortes' offensive production has skyrocketed. And so I don't know if there's like a degree of like pressure coming into Nick Fortes, and he's a little bit like, oh, they moved Jazz for a new catcher? Man, they must really believe in him. And okay, I don't know. It's probably not that, but you never know. These little, minor little tweaks. But nevertheless, we haven't got time for any further deep diving on Nick Fortes, the 9th hottest hitter in baseball. Yes, 9th hottest hitter in baseball in the last 6 days. So, hopefully you cut the timeline out of that when you play that to your friends. Let's talk about one of the best accruers of WAR in baseball in the recent weeks, and that is Otto Lopez. I saw that he was like 1.2 WAR in a recent time frame, 9th best, I think, in baseball overall. But man, Otto Lopez, I want to hold my hands up here, Sean, before I kind of let you dig into him specifically. But I want to hold my hands up on Otto Lopez. I think it's fair to say I'd written him off. Like they made the move. They claimed him via waivers. They plumbed him in. He started hitting home runs. I was like, man, Otto Lopez is good. And then he really tailed off. The defense was good, but the stick was poor for quite a sustained period. And I think I'd written him off, basically saying, I don't think Otto Lopez is going to be part of this Marlins organization next year. I think it's fair to say I need to hold my hands up and probably say that, again, for the 787,000th time, Peter Pratt probably wrong, probably misjudged and misevaluated a player, I guess. But Otto Lopez, Sean, boy, oh boy, he has been a WAR monster, it seems, in recent weeks. And looks to be probably a big-ish part of this Marlins offense and organization headed into 25.
Yeah, first I just want to hold my hands up. Earlier I said about him being at shortstop and X at second. It's the other way around.
Everyone's holding their hands up here. I mean,
let's get this all out in one go. Yeah, I mean, the guy is a decent player. Like the speed is there, the contact is there, the defense is there. Like this guy just puts up WAR, and when have we ever said that about a Marlins player in the last 5 years?
We never said that.
A young guy. I mean, you said you gave up on him. Looks awfully like Toronto gave up on him too soon as well. If the Marlins can pick up a genuine major league infield bat for literally nothing, I mean, I'd hate to be the guy in the Toronto organization that finally clicked that button and said, yeah, this guy's no good.
Well, that's the pressure for these guys, right? I mean, it's heartening to know that someone else can misevaluate a player potentially. But I mean, what's his WAR total this year now for Otto? What's he up to for this campaign?
1.7. He's one of the highest in the team.
1.7. There we go. So when I think back to, let's look back to like what Miguel Rojas was doing in his heyday, maybe. Like when I think of like defensive wizards, I know you probably haven't got a Miguel Rojas tab open, but I know you can get a tab open quickly. What did a Miguel Rojas vintage Miggy Rose season look like WAR-wise for the Marlins? Where, it's probably a similar profile. Like clearly was amazing at short. The stick wasn't amazing. That kind of profile. Like what was Miggy in his heyday doing like year on year WAR-wise for the Marlins?
So his highest was 1.9. So he had a little sort of period where it was 1.5, 1.4, 1.3, 1.4, 1.9.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, this year for the Dodgers it's 2.3. So
yeah, well, his stick's better this year. I think he's hitting like 280 or something. I think so.
It's nearly 290. Yeah.
The offensive aspect of that's probably a little bit better. So Otto at this point is what 1.9? Did you say?
1.7 is
1.7
joint highest of the team. So Jazz, X, and Otto all have a 1.7 WAR. So he could actually finish the season as the Marlins' highest WAR offensive player.
There we go. And actually could potentially exceed any of Miguel Rojas's WAR campaigns with the Marlins. So, I mean, I did that on the fly. That was pretty dangerous because it can make you look silly when you do that with stats when you're not a stats guy as well. But I think that just kind of shows you, like, for me, shines a light maybe there on just, how good Otto has been. It kind of comes back to for me with him, it's like he's been great at second and it's primarily like defensive WAR that's propping him up. Considering Xavier Edwards' like slight deficiency there at short, I'm a little bit surprised they haven't like had him a little bit more often at short playing there. I know he's kind of like sprinkled in a little bit, but it has surprised me a touch that we haven't seen that. But I guess 2 WAR dude plumbed in there at second base. Pitching and defense club. If the pitching's back, then I'm sure there's going to be a big role for Otto to play. So again, I've asked you this multiple times in like these two-parters. Otto Lopez, 2025 opening day starter.
I think he is. I think between him and X up the middle with Sanoha on the bench, this is genuinely an exciting offense. This is something that I didn't expect so soon. Now, of course, these are all super small sample sizes and everything like that. But right now, the changes that they've made, the moves that have happened, these players are starting to inject a bit of fun into this team. Something that we definitely didn't have to begin the season with quite literally the deadwood veterans that were on the team.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you start 0-9 and your roster's got some deficiencies and injuries, I mean, it was a terrible start to the year. I mean, let's not even go back there. There's no point. The green shoots are here, and pretty much up and down this lineup, there's a story. There's something happening. Guys seem to be on a hot, like, all of a sudden you look around, like everyone's on a heater apart from Jake Berger at this point. I mean, Jake Berger was on the heater of all heaters for a period. He's kind of cooled off, and that's the point. That's what I always think about, of like, trying to align hot streaks, and that like propels your offense, right? And it feels like you've got like Norby, who's on fire, Fortes is on fire, Bride's looking decent, Xavier Edwards, I'd say he hasn't exactly, been on fire since returning from the IL. Like, I think he had his first 0-for-5 day, maybe ever, for the Marlins in his game back. But he'll come get hot again. Griffin Conine continues to chip in as well. Jesus Sanchez is back to a WRC plus over 100 potentially. If I have made
it's exactly 100.
There you go. So he's
sorry, Alan.
So Jesus Sanchez is back to being average, but nevertheless, that's fun. But there's things happening here, which is, I think, the main, offensive to the fan base. We're all watching these games, and we're all feeling, I think, collectively that things have turned the corner. They've turned a little bit quicker than maybe we anticipated. And there's actually guys stepping up as well that maybe we didn't anticipate. I put Nick Fortes in that bucket, Jonah Bride in that bucket, Otto Lopez in that bucket. Like, these guys at the moment, it's in September in a dead season, but it feels like they've all taken a step up. So a lot to be encouraged about, I think, at this point, Sean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. This team looks slightly ahead. I think September numbers can sometimes be a bit confusing with just the way that the league, but it's not like it used to be when the teams would go up to 40 men. Yeah. And suddenly you've got some real junk on rosters, and the numbers really are skewed. It's a lot more concentrated now. And also, a lot of these stats that we're talking about aren't just September numbers. These are growing sample sizes. And as unfortunately, the season's going to end soon, but as these sample sizes grow, the more and more you can feel confident in them.
Yeah, no doubt. With that being said, speaking of confidence, I'm extremely confident that Viente Beozo is about to absolutely outpitch Paul Skeens in probably about 7 minutes as we end this episode. So we're going to call it a day there, Sean. I know both me and you are going to watch. You're probably going to watch the full game. I think you've got a full game in you. Maybe. Have you?
I have, yeah. I'm going to be watching Monday Night Football as well. So it's going to be a late one.
Baby Sean Barrett going all in. I don't have the full game in me. I'm on the school run at like 8:20. So I haven't got that in me, but I'm going to watch an inning or two just to see whether Beozo can match Skeens, or whether the Marlins offense can do some damage on Skeens. So we'll look forward to that one, guys. But thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first/second listen, guys, because it's been a double-header Monday. I tip my cap to the UK GOAT, as ever, Sean Barrett, for his insight and fun during these two episodes. And we'll be back very soon. I think it's probably right to have a recap of the Skeens Beozo head-to-head matchup. If Beozo takes him down, Sean's got it locked in that he should be immediately added to the starting rotation for 2025. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.